What would you do if someone locked you away for 27 years, stole your freedom, your youth, your family, your dreams? Would you come out angry or forgiving? Would you come out broken or stronger? This is not just a story about South Africa. It's a story about us, all of us. Because in a world constantly torn between power and peace, between revenge and reconciliation, Nelson Mandela's life is a masterclass in something we desperately need today: humanity. He was born Rolihlahla Mandela in a small village called Mvetso in 1918. Rolihlahla in Xhosa means pulling the branch of a tree, a euphemism for troublemaker. Little did anyone know that this boy, from a tribal monarchy and raised in a hut, would one day challenge an entire regime built on racial supremacy. Growing up under colonial rule, Mandela saw the inequalities between white and black South Africans not just as policies, but as chains around the soul of his people. Even as a boy, he saw how dignity was stolen in silence, how land was taken, voices were crushed, and humanity was divided, not by truth, but by color. But he wasn't born a fighter. That came later. What shaped him first was education. It was at the University of Fort Hare and later in Johannesburg where Mandela met the ideas that would shape his legacy: democracy, justice, equality, and resistance. Education, Mandela would later say, is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. The 1940s and 50s in South Africa weren't just turbulent. They were suffocating. Apartheid had begun, a legalized system of racial segregation. It dictated where you could live, what you could do, who you could marry, even when you could walk on the street. Mandela joined the African National Congress, ANC, and co-founded its youth league. But peaceful protest met violent suppression. And slowly, like many revolutionaries around the world, he shifted from passive resistance to more aggressive opposition. In 1961, he co-founded Umkhonto we Size, the spear of a nation, the armed wing of the ANC. To many in power, this was terrorism. But to the oppressed, this was rebellion against tyranny. Just like the Boston Tea Party or the American Revolution, context shaped judgment. Trigger point. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment for sabotage. The court didn't just imprison a man. They tried to imprison a movement. But instead, they made him a symbol. Imagine waking up in a cold concrete cell every morning for 27 years. Robben Island wasn't just a prison. It was a place designed to erase hope. Mandela broke stones under the scorching sun, slept on the floor, received censored letters, and was allowed a single visitor once every 6 months. But here's what's extraordinary. Mandela refused to let prison break him. Instead, he became more human, not less. He studied. He taught. He organized secret discussions with other political prisoners. He learned the language of his jailers, Afrikaans, not to submit, but to understand. He realized the path to freedom was not through vengeance, but through transformation. Turning point. When prison guards started calling him Mr. Mandela instead of boy, it wasn't because of his title, it was because of his dignity. He once said, "I am not a saint, unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." The world began to pay attention. Protests erupted in the US, the UK, and Europe. Artists, students, leaders, everyone called for his release. Free Nelson Mandela became a global rallying cry. From Times Square to Soweto, his name became a symbol of both hope and shame. Hope for a new South Africa, shame that will let such injustice live on for so long. In the US, movements grew. Politicians demanded sanctions. Students on college campuses protested investment in apartheid-supporting businesses. It wasn't just Mandela fighting, it was the world now standing behind him. And then, on February 11th, 1990, the gates opened. After 27 years, Nelson Mandela walked free. He didn't walk out a broken man. He didn't walk out bitter. He walked out ready. And the world watched a moment that history would never forget. "I have walked that long road to freedom," he said. "I have taken a moment here to rest, but I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended." This was a turning point, not just for South Africa, but for humanity. Because the real test wasn't just breaking chains. It was about what you do after you're free. He became South Africa's first black president in 1994, not through war, but through elections. But he didn't seek revenge. Instead, he built a government of national unity, including even those who once imprisoned him. Mandela invited his jailers to his inauguration. He wore the Springboks jersey, a symbol of white pride, to unify a nation during the 1995 Rugby World Cup. He didn't just change the laws, he changed hearts. Because forgiveness is not weakness. It is the hardest form of strength. He understood, if you're full of bitterness, there's no space for freedom. Mandela stepped down after one term, because true leadership is not about clinging to power. It's about lifting others up. He said, I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. So what can we, especially in the US, learn from Mandela? That injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That dialogue is more powerful than division. That strength lies in peace, not pride. That humility, not hatred, is the real force of leadership. That our prisons, whether physical or mental, don't define us, our choices do. Mandela didn't just fight for freedom. He showed us how to live free. He didn't erase scars. He turned them into stories. He didn't become a hero because he was perfect. He became one because he chose what most of us wouldn't. Compassion over anger, unity over ego, forgiveness over revenge. So the real question isn't just, who was Nelson Mandela? The real question is, who are we becoming? If this story moved you, don't just watch it. Live it. Be the voice that speaks up for justice. Be the heart that chooses empathy. Be the mind that seeks peace over pride. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more Nelsons. Like this video if you believe in forgiveness over fear. Drop a comment below. What's your biggest takeaway from Mandela's life? Share this with someone who needs to hear this today. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, because every week, we share stories that awaken your inner power. Together, let's build a mindset that outlives the moment and inspires the movement.